Until then. So, right now we have got Anna Migas joining us for a fireside chat. Anna Migas is a software engineer at Castle.io. She's a front-end developer and a Google Dev expert. One year she spoke at 15 different conferences, and I really want to hear about that. Welcome to GDCFP Day, Anna.
Hi, Suze. It's so nice to be here, and I'm so glad that you picked me to have a chat with you. And hi to the audience, which I cannot see. And it's I have to remind myself of looking at the dot all the time with the Suze on the screen. So just be mindful of that.
Yeah, we were talking about that earlier. Somebody asked Nathaniel what the difference is between doing a talk online and doing it in person, and it is so hard doing it online when you can't see the audience. I'm just putting faith in all you good people that you're really loving what we're giving you today, and I keep wanting to look at you down here on my screen, and yeah, it's difficult. So something we all kind of get used to, isn't it? But yeah, thanks so much for giving up your time. You were definitely on my first choice list, and so I was really happy when you agreed to come and join me for this fireside chat.
It's so nice to hear. Well, I've not spoken at an event for some time now, and it's so nice to be back just for the energy of doing this.
Brilliant. So, like I said, and I learned this about you when we did our tech check the other day. It was really nice to just kind of have that little chat. And you said, you just kind of like said it like it was nothing. It's like, oh, I spoke at 15 conferences one year. So tell us a bit about how that came about.
Well, it was quite interesting because a year before I only started conference speaking and I had a chance to speak at a few events. I was very lucky to get to them, and I was so thankful that then I applied to so many conferences because I felt so empowered by this. And well, it turned out I got accepted to almost all of them that I applied to. And when you're just starting as a speaker, it's so hard to say no to any opportunity that just comes to you, because you think that, well, if I say no now, it might be like I might not be able to do that again. And the conferences were coming, and like I was saying, like better and better conferences that wanted me to. So I obviously said yes, because at the moment when you say yes, you don't know how much effort there'll be later. But thankfully, most of the conferences wanted the same talk. So it's not like I had to say like different talks for each of these conferences. So it was manageable.
So until that point where you found yourself suddenly with 15 conferences, how much public speaking had you done before then?
I think it was just a few talks. My first talk, which was out of the excitement of finding about something, and about the excitement of knowing about something. And after this first talk, I realized that public speaking is not only reserved for people who are experts, but it's also for people who know how to play this CFP game and like writing a bio and abstract. So I tried this, and well, I managed to actually get into some more conferences after this first talk, and I was speaking about animation performance back then, and I think it was because the topic was mixing two things that didn't usually come together. So I think it was like a thing that drew a lot of people to invite me for the conferences.
That's a good tip, actually. If for folks who are thinking, oh, this topic isn't unique, then if you really think that you need to have something unique, make it unique by meshing something with it. Yeah, so remind us what the title of your talk was that you gave.
The one that I gave
15 times.
15 times. This one was about Fast But Not Furious, about Jesus. I don't remember now. It was 2 years or 3 years ago. I think it was Fast But Not Furious, debugging UI performance issues. Like, this is the full title.
Right. Okay. And that is a really hot topic. And then Fast and Furious and all of that stuff. It was like the perfect kind of like the stars were all aligned for that, wasn't it? And I think that
Yes.
definitely would have had a broad appeal. So on that note, like Nathaniel and I briefly chatted about reusing talk. So I'm assuming, presumably you don't want to repeat that feat again and do another 15 talks in a year, but I'm assuming you're a big advocate then for, if you've got a talk, then definitely submit it to different conferences, because you've done the work. You might as well try and kind of get that economy of scale, right?
Yeah, exactly. As long as you're applying to conferences that will happen for different audience in different places, like, I don't think like anyone will. I think it's fine, even if people see it again, like for the second time at the conference. I saw some talks for like 3 times at conferences, and I wasn't mad if they were good. It's just like repeating some lessons and just learning again. So as long as you're sure and improving your talk, I think that's completely fine. Exactly, it's like a lot of work to do a talk, so apply to as many places possible with that, because you don't want to make it obsolete at some point, but you want to use it while it's still relevant for the audience.
That is a great point, isn't it? Especially if you're talking about something new, or something that's not evergreen, then yeah, definitely need to strike while the iron's hot and get your message out there. And I guess, even if people are seeing the talk again, it's going to cement you in their mind that, oh wow, Anna really knows about this stuff. And if they need to know about it, who are they going to go and ask, or who are they going to recommend? Which talk are they going to recommend? Because they're going to remember something they've seen more than once, aren't they? So that definitely would cement you as somebody who knows what they're talking about, but also as a really good speaker, because people know, especially if you've applied to conferences, and we need to temper kind of like the encouragement with, you might not get picked because everybody gets rejected. I'm sure that even though you spoke at 15 conferences in 1 year, you have still been rejected sometimes, haven't you?
Yes, obviously.
Yeah, so it still does happen to everybody, and people know that it's hard to get into conferences. So if they say, wow, this person's got in, twice to these really big conferences, then it cements you as a really good speaker. So it can only be a good thing. So tell us how and when you got into public speaking.
Well, it's quite an interesting story, because I just found out about some tech trick, and I decided to write a blog post about it. And during writing a blog post, I had so many examples that turned out into a small open source library. And I thought, like, wow, I just wrote open source. I never thought I'll be the person who does it. Like, I didn't feel like this kind of developer that I was like capable of it. And I realized that it's not that hard, and I wanted to share that. And I applied to quite a big conference with a lot of tracks. And I think when you're just starting, it's way easier to get to conferences like that, because they have many spots, and some of these are for first-time speakers. So I applied to conference like that. Well, and I got in. And I was really stressed about it, very, very stressed about it. So my talk was basically about like how to start open sourcing. And yeah, I could probably do a follow-up talk about how to start public speaking, because this open sourcing got me into public speaking. But it was just out of sheer excitement that it's for everybody if we put enough effort into that. And I think this is a great reason to give your first talk, just being so excited about something you just found out.
Definitely. And, there might be people that are on the live stream now who are thinking, you know what, actually, I was thinking about giving a talk about that, but I thought everybody already knew that. There's very much a danger of thinking that everybody knows what you know. Like I'm thinking I want to give a talk about Git and GitHub, but I think everyone knows about that. But there are loads of people who want to know about these things. So yeah, definitely talk about something that you're excited about, and don't worry about whether people already know this. Yes, some people are already going to know it, but there's going to be loads of people that don't. And like Nathaniel said earlier, speak to you of 6 months ago before you knew about this stuff. So yeah, I really like the way that you found something you were passionate about, and you thought, right, I'm going to give this to, and that's what kicked off your whole journey. I think that's brilliant. So before we went into the break, I don't know if you heard me say to people, I said to them, one of the things they're going to need to to apply to speak at a conference is a bio. So when you submit your proposal, you'll need a bio to go with it. And I said to them to think about what they do at the moment, what they used to do, and what they also do. So like their hobbies, just the sort of basics. So they've got a basic bio that they can build on. What advice would you give to people who don't know what to write in their bio?
Well, if you don't know what to write, then just start with the basics. Obviously, your name, maybe your position, or if you're unemployed at the moment, maybe like how you are relevant to the topic you want to speak about, like what kind of experience you have around this topic. And if you don't have experience, but you're just passionate about it, just write that you're passionate about it and you've been like digging into this topic for this many years. Maybe if you have some open source around this or some articles, you can write that you're a writer or you have committed some open source work as well. I think also the bio is to learn about the person as they are. So like some quirky facts as well, like what you're into. I used to write that I'm into skateboarding. I'm not anymore, but people like still remember that. So like something quirky about you. And I think like just your personality should like be a bit reflected in the bio as well. People are going to see you as well, not just your topic, I think, many times.
Yeah, definitely. They want to see a bit of personality. Otherwise, you are going to be the same person giving the same. You have to kind of convince them why it has to be you that tells that particular story, don't you? And the way you do it is through your bio and telling people what you're about, what you've done, what your unique experiences are that makes this a different story, a different one from the way anyone else could tell it. So how do you approach writing a new talk? Like what order do you tackle this whole thing in?
Yeah, I think it's very, for each person I talk to, I think the process might be like a bit different. And for me, it is like before I even submit to conferences, I like to do like a bit of research first. Like if what I'm going to talk about is not like being everywhere at every conference and everyone is talking about, usually it wasn't the case. Because I started talking about web performance just before everyone got into that, so I was quite lucky. So I tried to do some research about some ideas I wanted to share in the talk. Obviously, writing writing about that, also you need to have a problem you want to address. Maybe you just learned about some tool, maybe there is a problem that you had. So this should be like the base of your talk, and probably this should be like the beginning of your talk. So I did a little bit of research and tried to find out like pieces that I could include in my talk. So I do like a huge list of things that could go into this talk. And then I'm trying to think like, what's the timeline? Who's the audience? And then I'm trying to cross out the things that definitely I won't have time to talk about. And the things that made it to the list, then I try to see what are the points that I want to talk about it. So my usual talk structure is first I'm trying to state the problem or like some idea that I had. Then I'm trying to give a bit of a background on this idea. And towards the end, I'm trying to have some practical advice how to use this, maybe some examples, code samples, or like the use cases for this idea. And obviously after that I'm trying to wrap up and like just repeat everything that was said so that it's better understood and remembered.
Definitely. Yeah, I really like the way you did that. So you're kind of just talking about the thing and then the use cases and how they could use it. So it's very much sort of like a persuasion almost. I think most talks are about persuading people to do something. So like this fireside chat is about persuading all these good folks to go ahead and write a proposal, isn't it? And Nathaniel's all about persuading people to think about their audience and think about the message. Jessica's going to be talking about, she's going to be persuading people that their career is going to be astronomical once they start public speaking, and later on we're going to be persuading people to care about their audience. So yeah, definitely agree with you on that score. And I really like what you said about what you do after that with how it actually relates to them and what they can do on a practical level, because there are some talks I've seen actually that miss that out. And you kind of come away thinking, oh, that was really interesting, but where do I go from here? So definitely you can give that to your audience, then it kind of just sticks with them a bit longer, doesn't it? And then it's like, well, that talk was useful because it helped me to do this, this and this. And definitely the summary as well. I really like that. You know, it does take a lot of practice because you've got to get your talk timed into the time slot, and it can be hard to do that. But if you can put a summary in the end, it just helps to cement that in people's minds, doesn't it, as to what you talked about and what the point of it was. So we've had a question in the chat from Anya. So she's saying, as a beginner speaker, do you recommend to aim for a small audience like a meetup or a bigger audience?
Well, it definitely depends. I think it's easier probably with the smaller audience, but what is the easiest, I think, not like depending on the size of the audience, is to have some kind of supporters in the audience. So every talk I've done, I try to have some people that I know. Sometimes I only met them at this conference. It was like for my first talk, I only met people that were my spectators at this conference, and they need to be seated in one of the first rows, so you see them and you can see that they're like nodding at you and they're listening to you. It makes it so much easier. But I know that now with the online speaking, it's so much harder. You're speaking to the dot, basically. So it's good to have some kind of support. Now that you cannot have it, well, definitely just like it's hard to assess because now you don't have like big or small audience, right? It's just like your computer in front of you. So, but in the times when it matters, I think what most matters is that you have some support system, some people around you that you know that you can always look at, and they'll just clap for you and they'll be supporting for you. And if you don't have people like that, it's just good to meet someone during the break, or like chat with the organizer of the conference. They're almost always like in the front rows and they're trying to like make you feel that what you're saying is interesting and needed.
Yeah, definitely. And what you often find is that if you tweet about it, people want to come up to you, don't they? And speak to you. Like I went to a conference, I wasn't actually speaking. I just said I was going to be there. And this guy just kind of jumped out and said, oh, hi, Suze. I said, saw you were going to be here on Twitter. So you can definitely make friends that way. Like, you know, way in the future when we're allowed to mix again. That is one way of doing it. Tell people that you're going to be there. But yeah, like you said, if you're going to a meetup, make sure your friends are there and they can give you a bit of moral support. And yeah, it always helps to have a friendly face. You always kind of look back at that person. Right? So we're just coming to the end of our session. That went really fast. But you're going to be around, aren't you, in the veto chat afterwards?
Yeah, afterwards for some time. Yes.
Cool, thank you for that. And like I said, if anyone wants to reach out to Anna or any of us speakers, feel free to do so on Twitter. But please bear in mind there might be a high volume of inquiries. Your call is very important to us, but we might be in a queue. So please don't expect a quick reply. There are hundreds of you and there's only 11 of us. Just before you go, Anna, I'm going to ask you some really quick questions. Just the first thing that comes into your head. Yeah. Favorite conference you've spoken at?
Well, definitely Smashing Conference.
Smashing Conference, yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. The pinnacle of you can retire now.
Yeah.
Favorite talk that you've given?
Well, it was also a Smashing Conference talk. It was effortless performance debugging because it was live coding, super uncomfortable but super rewarding.
Whoa. I need to get you on another fireside to talk about live coding and talks. Okay. Conference that you'd love to speak at?
Well, before pandemic, it was always JSConf Hawaii for obvious reasons, not only because content-wise, but also Hawaii-wise. But now I wouldn't mind to speak at Smashing Conf again, if it's online.
Brilliant. And a talk that you really loved?
The first time I saw Leonie Watson speaking, I don't remember the title of the talk, but she was speaking about accessibility from the perspective of a person who lost her sight, and It was just so fantastic.
Brilliant. Thanks so much for your time, Anna, again. And yeah, anybody who wants to reach out to me or Anna afterwards, please do so. But until next time, Anna, thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.